Afternoon, everybody. This is 6th December 2023. I am the chair, Rich Rita. Vice Chair Bob Freeze is here, as is Select Board Member Wendy Rathford. Everybody, this is 6th December 2023. I am the chair, Rich Rita. Deja vu.
Deja vu all over again.
All right.
All set.
And so we have a quorum, and that it constitutes the call to order. I don't see anybody here for a privilege of the floor. So we will move to the approval of minutes, which I don't believe we've received yet, so we'll move along from that. Into calendar review. We have still have a busy calendar, yes?
Mhm.
So our next meeting is at 5 PM on the 21st. The planning board has a zoning amendment public hearing on the 13th of December here in the downstairs meeting room, 6 PM. And their regular meeting the next day, December 14th, here at 8 AM. Anything else on the calendar review? I think we're good.
Yeah.
Financial update.
Financial update is in your packet as of November 30th. 2023, we're tracking pretty close on both sides of the budget, revenues and expenses. Revenues, although they're a little bit lower than the 91% through the year, we are looking at the fourth quarter water and sewer bills will make up the difference there. So
As always.
Discounting bonds, fund balance or grants, we're tracking well. Any specific questions or anything?
Good. Good. Wendy?
Yeah.
Good.
All right, so let's move on to department head updates. I see Brooke there just itching to go, so I'll let you go first.
I don't have a lot. Just we have a lot of activities coming up at the rec department. Having to do with the holidays, and we have our Santa letters, which is a mailbox outside the rec where the kids can drop off their letter to Santa. We also have Santa calls where parents can fill out a form and get a call from Santa. Frosty Fun Night, and of course all of our regular stuff we have going on. We've been really busy with laser tag on the weekend and climbing wall. We have a birthday party this weekend. The SAU dance for the school is at Waterville Valley. The second time ever. Next on the 15th. And just very busy with all of our other activities, including Sundays. Right now I am looking for a part-timer. I'm going to be losing somebody soon, and it would be about 20 hours a week, and it would include Sundays. If you know anyone or volunteers. What else? I think that's pretty much it. Just we're getting ready for a big busy season for us. We close the 24th and the 25th this year.
24th and 25th.
Yeah.
Any questions for the rec? All right, thank you.
Well, one other thing, we do
Yep.
have a blood drive that week of the Christmas
Right.
holiday break. So I wanted to put that on the record here, so if anyone's around to.
Yeah, and your complete list of your holiday happenings are on your website,
Yes.
all your social
It's
media
way too much
places.
to go over in this meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just
but I mean, just anyone listening.
anyone
they
listening
can
can find that on our website. And it'll also be blasted out on social media with we have a newsletter that goes out via email, so we'll try to get the word out. They can always find it on our website.
All right, thank you. Over to Public Works. Good afternoon, Megan.
Good afternoon, how are you?
Good.
We're back into our favorite season. What brings our favorite stuff that falls from the sky, snow. Plow crews have been hard at work, making sure that the roads are safe and clear for not only the residents, but the travelers as well. We're coming in for ski weekends or hockey or anything that Waterville has to offer. We did have an incident, last week with one of the plow trucks. A nut had come loose on the truck. Wing plow went back and hit one of our wheels on the truck, so it was down for a few days. It is back up and operational for the next storm, thankfully. Thankfully, we had a spare at the time, so we were able to keep going during the storm, but if we didn't, we would have been down a truck, for the entirety of the storm. To where a tire machine would be great at that point in time to be able to switch over to a new wheel or a new tire as needed. Buildings, the lights on the library have gone up, along with the wreath as well has gone up on the library. We are planning on installing a camera at the library so we can have better view of the north end conditions, since they are drastically different from the south end. So that way the plow crews can get out there earlier versus later and have safety issues. I have also been in contact with the co-op to get our street lights up and operational. They will be out here next week to get all of the ones that need either new photo cells or bulbs taken care of, and just kind of come up with a plan for the future. Because the only one that we own is the solar powered one that's on the intersection of Packards and Valley. So they will be coming out more frequently to make sure those are operational for not only the winter time, but the summertime as well.
Yeah, this is a major, and I just want to thank Megan for having the sit-down meeting with the co-op. And they went through the whole town to be able to do this so that and it is important that a position that the co-op had previously, that they were our issue, is now they have recognized that these are their streetlights when it comes to the photo cells and the light bulbs. So it will help us with maintenance going forward. So this is a major step.
And we do have that all in an email.
And we have it in
Just
the
like
email,
back
so-
on their board.
So that was a big deal. And I think we have two photos. We have one at Village
Yeah,
Road
that's the
intersection
village, yeah.
and
Mhm.
the Valley Road, Packards Road
Mhm.
intersection. So two of the lights are ours.
Anything else? Public Works?
Solid waste. Want to talk about it? Go ahead. You might as well, let's put it out there.
What about solid waste?
Well.
We generate it.
Well, year to date, we are down, year to date now, same for what it would have been last year, we're down 42 tons overall. So, we are expecting the dumpsters soon. There was a little bit of miscommunication on where things went. So hopefully we'll have those before Christmas and we'll get them replaced out in town with the ones that are disintegrating drastically.
And the truck is running.
Oh,
but
yes, the truck is running. The 12th is when the truck will be going in. We'll bring it in the afternoon of the 11th, so it'll get in the 12th. We expect the diagnosis by the 13th. If they give us, hey, it'll be a week and a half, we're gonna utilize Casella it'll only be 1 day a week, but we'll utilize Casella to come pick up the dumpsters around town and the central pickup station as well. If they tell us it'll be over 2.5, 3 weeks, then we are looking at other options to rent a truck so that way we can stay operational through the Christmas, New Year season.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big deal, one way or the other. So,
It will.
something to stay on top
The
of.
Bobcat working okay with snow removal?
It is. We received the Bobcat on the 24th and it was immediately put to work. They used it because it was slushy that day. They used the blower to blow around a lot of the slush and water. Works lovely. The pusher is working great as well. Sander's a little bit different than we thought, but it is operational and it is helping drastically. They have not stopped using the skid steer since we've gotten it, so.
Yeah, and the only downside of it is at the bridge. We do have to find a better solution.
Which bridge?
The bridge on Valley Road.
Okay,
It's
So
the only
the,
sidewalk that
even-
it can't fit on right now.
yeah,
Yeah,
even.
oh, because
the-
it, because
Even the
it
skid steer is
narrows
too
there.
wide,
yeah.
so we've always had this problem with the current machine.
Yeah, with the Camille, the sidewalk tractor we currently have, it falls off the sidewalk of the bridge all the time as well.
Yeah.
They kind of got used to it and figured out the kinks, that the skid steer being slightly larger. They are having issues as well with it, so we're coming up with some solutions for the future. Whether it'll get taken care of next year with some of the repairs that we're thinking about doing. To the roads, or whether that is a different type of attachment for the skid steer to be able to plow the sidewalk at the bridge correctly, so.
We got a solution for the golf clubhouse parking.
We did, we talked with Craig and he was fine with us. Tearing up this lawn a little bit because it's gonna get addressed in the spring anyways with Piper. So we did go ahead and wing back that parking area that we agreed upon with him. And so we'll keep that clear through the winter. And we will put the no parking signs up as soon as possible after this meeting in the next coming weeks. On the opposite side where the multi-use path is now.
And just so people who are watching that might not know, Bob, we're talking about on-street parking to replace what we removed when we put in the multi-use path. And it's gonna be on the golf clubhouse side of the street. And it will be signed to do that. And we'll build the same sort of parking area as we had previously, when they come in to do the final top coat.
And right now that parking is after the speed limit sign. To almost the intersection of Boulder Path. Just for the people.
That's a tight turn there. People cut that turn. I don't know how close you're gonna
Yeah,
get.
we're
to
not gonna
Bowling
get
Path.
very close to it. We'll
Right.
sit back a car length maybe from the actual intersection.
And just so people are aware who are listening, in front of the hydrant, there is a drop off. You cannot park in front of there. It is a public safety hazard.
Sign it appropriately, I suppose.
Yeah, it'll be a little confusing. We'll figure, we'll watch it as we go and maybe we can dip in and come back out and then. go
With the
back
plow,
in
so they can't, yeah,
With the plow, something like that.
to
yeah.
discourage it, right? Yeah, I mean, the main thing will be, we've, so to speak, trained people to park on one side.
Right, now
Now
we're
we need
moving it
to the other side, so it'll be a combination of education and hopefully not too much enforcement to keep people off of the.
Right.
the
And that's
back.
why we're gonna put no parking signs
Yeah,
up,
I think that'll be.
where we
important,
were
right.
before.
Yeah.
Is that,
And they've groomed that trail that comes out of and goes across the road.
well,
To the
they're
golf
not right
course.
now, so we've gotta talk to the skier. They're
Well,
not,
I'll
No, it
touch
is-
base with Ian on that.
yeah,
It is groomed.
it is groomed now.
I walked by it this morning.
Okay, so
I would
they
say
just
yesterday.
did it, they must have done it last night, because when we drove by it
Yesterday.
yesterday
I-
afternoon, it was not groomed.
Think it went, I think all the way down across the golf course too, I think.
Okay, we'll look at it.
Yeah, I may be wrong, but I thought they did, because I,
That is one thing, once we get that final top coat on the pavement. I think we need to sit down with the resort and talk about grooming and,
going
you
across the
know,
road.
and also have Craig in on that too. Because he has the groomer that he moves across for tubing, so
Yeah.
we've gotta find a good way to do this so that we don't have too much damage. To all the new
Yeah.
pavement that we're putting up.
Right.
You know, one thing that the town has done last couple of years anyway is the excuse me, the little parking area. And to go into the, what I call the incinerator road, right up, just past the bridge on the
Okay.
left. You know what I'm talking about? If you go over the bridge going up towards the mountain, there's a little parking area on your left.
We've
It-
been doing that?
Yeah.
I don't think,
Yeah, I'm not aware of that.
we're not, it was not the town, it must have been the state, that's a
Oh.
state road.
Oh, well, I know the state, I don't think the state did it, but
Yeah,
Maybe Jim just did it, I don't know.
okay,
It's the little parking area, just.
yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
and then you walk
yeah.
down, takes you to the old incinerator.
Okay, I wasn't, we'll check that out.
I
with the
mean,
crew.
you know, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely not a priority, but it's nice when I walk my dog.
Yeah.
It is.
To have a
No,
place
it
to
is.
park.
Okay,
Yeah, it can be done 2 or 3 days after a storm, I don't care.
Yeah.
But
right.
And returning to solid waste, the transfer station, how things been going?
Been going well, haven't heard any complaints, Mike did just tell me, today that the complaints that he's heard since he's been staying till 6 on Tuesdays.
Mhm.
Is that, they're having, a lot of people are having a little bit of trouble making that turn inside there, so we did actually just rearrange the dumpsters
Okay,
to help that out a little bit, help get rid of a little less confusion that's been in there. So hopefully that'll help. It's just ever changing out in there, making sure that it's running smoothly. That's really the only concern other than people wanting an out, you know,
Right.
another day, Friday or Saturday, when they're here on the weekends.
I think at our next select board meeting, we should vocalize once again the hours and days for the holiday period.
Mhm.
I know, I've already put it out, it's on the calendar, and everything, but.
Yep.
Let's make sure we get everything out in
Okay.
time for everybody,
it's a good idea.
Good idea.
especially if there's something we can put up, just some.
And I'll make sure to
Poster,
do it that
flyer.
community meeting
We
day.
get, that's right,
as
that's
well.
coming up as well, but
We can make a sign and put it up in the window of the attendant stand as well, just so when people are driving through, they know. Um, We did have one illegal dumping, Pat and public safety have all the information, so they will be going at that with the illegal dumping fee. So hopefully they'll be able to give me an update on that soon.
anything else on Public Works?
That is it.
Great, thank you. Hello, Dylan, what's happening in wastewater and water?
Plugging away and,
Well, I hope nothing's plugged.
No. We were able to, this year we had to change the amount of lead and copper tests, that we performed. It just was the end of the cycle, so we're, instead of being 10, we had to revert back to 20. And that happens at the beginning of or end, depending on how you look at it, every decade of when we started doing the testing.
Oh, you're talking about the date?
Yes.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
this calendar year, we had to do 20. Luckily, we've had great compliance with that. We only have one that's outstanding still, and typically it's kind of a fight to get 10 before the end of the year. So been really good. We added some people to the list this year, and all 3 of you, I believe, participated.
Oh, yes.
It's a big help. It's really one of those things that no one really wants to participate in, but it's a necessary.
Just fill a bottle of water.
Not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
Just, it's a convenience factor for them, but otherwise,
Yeah, and we'll get that last one done before the end of the month, but that's our deadline.
operationally, things are going good.
Yeah, can we one more thing on lead and copper? Can you just
Sure.
generally talk about
Sure.
the webinar and what's happening?
So there's a new, I don't really want to call it a new rule, it's a revised rule. So they're calling it the LCRR, which is the lead and copper rule, and the second R stands for revised. This has been pushed by the EPA, and so there's a bunch of hard dates that are falling into this category, but what they want is by October of 2024 to have a full
Inventory.
the full inventory of all of the service lines in Waterville Valley and what the material is. So what could have helped us is having records of what was built, when it was built, what was installed. Unfortunately, we don't have really any of that besides new construction. So the issue that creates is the federal government, it's not the state. The state's the enforcement, but the federal government is enforcing this. That requires us to dig up almost I would estimate probably 80% of our curb stops in town that investigate and identify the exact material of the pipes. So they want to make sure there's no lead, want to make sure there's no lead joints, anything.
Oh, so you have to be at the joints, you can't be,
Correct.
yeah.
So that includes galvanized pipe. And then we also have there's forms that are associated with it. So this is gonna become a big deal. And this is just the beginning of it. So that's just taking inventory. of it.
Right. And then it becomes a maintenance issue after
Yeah,
that.
if we find anything that's an issue, the town has to not only replace it, obviously, at our cost, which is the right thing to do. I don't have any issue with that. But it's rolled out into a series, I think it's over a decade, where you have to repair a percentage of it every single year. But it all has to be done within 10 years.
There are no
It's like
federal,
a CMOM for the
Right.
water system.
Right.
does this
Same
federal
type of
requirement
thing.
come with any federal monies?
No,
Not that we qualify for it.
no.
Yeah.
So we're still gathering information on this,
Right.
but we had the webinar today. And there were a lot of questions because this applies to every town in the state,
In the country too.
in the country. But I mean, here in New Hampshire. And so DES has contracted with some organizations to help towns.
Mm.
So we have a consultant that we are working with
At no cost to
at
us.
no cost to us.
Yeah.
To help us implement this. But the initial feedback that Dylan and I are getting is that this is not optional and you must dig these up.
What was, I'm sorry, what was the?
The curb stop.
Yeah, yeah.
So you gotta physically identify and photograph the connection to the curb stop.
Right.
Well, some of these are 6-7 feet down
Yeah.
potentially.
Yeah.
Where,
Just from an individual house.
each individual service, every house, every building. Okay, so, just what did we do? 15, 20 or more curb stops on all the new pavement that we just did?
Yeah.
And we didn't know that
Right.
we were gonna have to do this, so
Taking pictures.
we just
Yeah,
paved, we just paved 15 or 20 of these. So
So they're under the.
they're under pavement,
Yeah, some
Yeah.
of them are.
some of them.
Not including gate boxes,
Right.
so the gate boxes are the larger, that would be to isolate the mains, the curb stops are for isolating people's service lines to their. homes.
Buildings.
Yeah,
Or buildings, yeah.
right,
So to Mark's point, there are some, like, in the first thing that I go to are like condos, where
right,
you have multiples, like, Village Condo, for example, they're all over the place, all throughout there, and we don't even own that road. But
Yeah.
you're gonna have to tear it up in order to get to the curb stops.
So we've got to do an inventory ourselves and we've got to start estimating, because if we're gonna have to do this. It's gonna basically be next summer,
yeah,
because if this has to be done by October.
But there, I wanna add, there
Yeah.
is in this. October 2024 deadline, there is the ability to put in there, is they allow us to have a percentage of, and I
Right.
don't know the range yet, I'm waiting to hear back on that. Of what's classified as unknowns. So we can have a percentage as unknowns, but that needs, regardless of that, it still needs to be resolved within a 10-year window. So regardless of, say we identify 20% of what's in town, that outstanding 80%, they don't care what the material is.
yeah,
They're not gonna give us any window, additional window to make the repairs if there are any that need to be done. So,
there are two parts, identifying them first,
Yeah.
coming up with the inventory by October of
next year.
24. And then replacing them, anything that we find.
Over a 10-year period.
Over a 10-year period. So the money that we'll potentially have to put in the CIP would be the identification next year. Because there's nothing in our CIP right now for that.
Right.
So it's just, we're getting a lot of this dumped on us
Yeah.
right now.
right,
And so I just want to make you aware that between now and when we talk to the CIP
Couple
on the
weeks.
19th,
Yeah,
we're gonna be putting probably another project in there
Hmm.
to do this work.
now, is this all stuff that can be done with our existing staff, or do you hire people to come in and do?
Well, I
this?
don't know because we don't know the numbers yet.
yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
that's gonna be. That's a good question. What I can tell you is we're probably gonna have to rent equipment. At least
minimum.
at minimum, we're gonna have to rent equipment. That's gonna really depend on, as long as we can coordinate between our two departments to make it work. Because ideally, you're gonna have a minimum of 3 people there. One operating the equipment, one person in the trench, another person standing by the trench in case there's an issue.
Yeah.
So that's 3 people,
Yeah.
there.
So realistically, our highway crew, Sam and Nate, and then
Brett and Chris.
Brad and Chris.
Yeah.
Would all
Yeah.
be on that the entire summer.
Yeah,
So where did this unfunded federal mandate come from?
EPA,
EPA.
As a
lead and
regulation.
copper-
Yeah.
Lead and
Lead
copper.
lines.
But it's as a
Because of-
regulation.
it's a
Yes.
regulation.
It's an interpretation of a current,
No,
It's an
new.
implementation of a regulation.
Correct, and they're also, to make matters worse.
administrative regulation.
Yes,
Mhm.
to make matters worse, this is just the revised rule of what's existing. They're coming out with another one. It's called the LCI, which is a new rule.
Lead
in
and
it-
copper.
in and of itself, which is gonna have all new parameters after this is put into effect. So no one knows what it is, because everyone was asking the state today, you know, how does this impact the communities? And the state doesn't even have any information to give on what's gonna be inside of this.
And that's kind of the frustrating thing, because if we go through and we dig up all of these
Yeah.
services, that would be an ideal time to be replacing if we
Correct.
needed to or whatever. But because we don't know what the standards are gonna be,
yeah,
we could be faced with digging it up, burying it, digging it up next year, you know.
yeah.
So, we're gonna continue to get information for you, but I wanted to make you aware of.
I mean, how is it possible for a big town, big city?
Yeah, we don't know.
Me and Mark are talking
Yeah,
about
we
it.
were,
Yeah.
'Cause
yeah,
if you look
I have
at-
no idea.
I-
I mean, we're a small town,
I-
but
Yeah,
I gotta think
How does-
of
how does Boston do
challenges for
this?
something
New
like
York,
this.
that's what I was thinking, yeah. And
It's
this
an
is-
it's an interpretation of a federal administrative regulation.
I believe it's actually a new law that was signed in. I really do. I know what you're saying.
Federal law.
I think it was a new federal law that was signed in.
We'll check on it,
Yeah,
but
but it
yes,
won't-
there were a lot of questions
Like this,
this morning
Yeah.
from bigger communities
right?
yeah,
that are like
Right, you
facing
think they would
hundreds of these.
Challenge
Impossible
an
task.
administrative interpretation.
We're talking tens, you know, for a large community, not even to the extent of Boston, but we're talking, just say Manchester and Nashua, for example, millions of dollars.
yeah.
Because it's not just the labor, it's also having to repave the roads that you're ripping out.
Yeah,
And they're talking every service to every
it's,
house.
it's an impossible task.
See, that's why it sounds like an administrative interpretation to me, by some bureaucrat, not a law.
I mean, well, obviously, what I have, I'll send
Right.
you with, forward you all 3 of you, including Mark, an email with.
Right, well, we'll just have to see how it, like you say, we need
How
more
it pans
information.
out, because there were some eyes opened today
Oh, yeah, I
during the
mean,
webinar.
it's not gonna be cheap for us either. We may not
No.
be in the millions of dollars, but.
No,
And the last thing we want to do, obviously, is, I'm glad it came out now and not after.
we
All
did
the
the
paving.
CIP, right,
Yeah, well, that.
and all the paving.
No,
yeah.
imagine if the paving project wrapped up this year for everything in town, and then this new rule comes out.
yeah, but
That
still
would've
within
been
a
a nightmare.
significant amount to
Look,
figure it out.
Did a mile and a half, yeah.
Okay,
So.
as always, Dylan, good news. Good news, Dylan.
You can imagine, you know, like have to be. all these things. It's just, that's the way it pans out. It's never good things when this new rule is put in. You know, it's good for the consumer, of course, but it's not good
Yeah.
for the utility.
But
Maybe
this
if we
one,
only met once a month, we'd have less bad news.
that's right,
You get the same amount, just put 3.
that's right. So we wouldn't have to think about it as much, or worry about it as much. Yeah. It's eye-opening that there's no warning that any of this was coming down either.
Yeah.
Well, they've been
Right.
telling us there's a new lead and copper
Rule.
rule coming or revisions to the rules coming, but we can't tell you exactly what they are.
Right.
And then they,
Dump it
Right.
on you and then give you a year to
Well, you know, it's bad.
survey.
When-
Less than a year.
So the
Uh,
state's.
Big
consultant
towns.
Is Hazen and Sawyer. That's their engineering firm that they hire the consultant to interpret how to enforce and put this plan into practice. And they don't have a lot of the answers to the way things have to be done, which is that bad, so. Anyhow. I've worked on it, that's all I have for it.
Hopefully some of the big boys will challenge it.
and we're still waiting on the cost estimate and we'll be forwarding that to you as soon as we get it.
The only
Okay.
thing one last thing, we awarded substantial completion on our project to Greenice, so we got that monkey off.
Yay.
Hopefully we can get this entire thing closed out in the next month or so and work. on
Great.
completion.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So everything is connected,
Everything's
and
connected.
are we drawing from well 3 yet, or?
All 3 wells.
All
Yeah.
3 wells are working.
Great,
Well,
excellent.
Backup generators there in case we lose power. Everything's good.
Works good.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, this-
Yeah.
Press board.
Yeah. It'll have to
It's
do,
wood.
it'll
so,
have to do,
Yes.
alrighty. Anything else, water, wastewater? Okay,
Public safety is out on a call,
Yep.
so they're not here.
anything you can think of they would have
Nothing.
brought up?
Nothing.
Well,
good.
You said-
Oh,
you said-
well,
Well,
yeah,
that's-
that's a,
Yeah, do we want to
Okay.
defer,
Okay,
do they want
okay.
defer to the next meeting on that?
well, I
you wanna
think
talk
we
about it?
should, because without Dave here, he really can't give you any input.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, I
quite
think
extensive,
on
I-
what are we talking?
the
about?
special
the
permit,
special Use,
Oh,
special
u-
event permit.
special event permit
So the
application.
biggest thing is, I don't know if you had a chance to review any of the other towns' documents,
Actually,
so look
I
through those.
did, yeah,
We would be looking for, are there things in there
right,
that you would like to see? Are there things in there that you have questions for Dave as to, do we need to do it? It is not our intent. Like, some of these are very detailed.
oh, yeah,
We're going into
Yeah.
this trying to be as general as we can to implement the
Right.
permit. Because we really see the permit itself as the bigger piece to this, so that we know. So that things are coordinated better.
Right.
With staff, so that we know that an event's coming up and
Right.
we can
Right.
be ready for it.
Right.
So,
I think in the Guilford one, they define in a pretty good way what an event is.
yeah,
And I think that's the preamble to
Right.
this thing, is we need to,
and the number of people,
it's 100 people.
100 in the
It's
Guilford,
different,
right.
different from normal operations. It's outside the building. It's.
right?
Rich, what has been the planning board's discussion of this? Is there a definition there, or are they leaving it to this ordinance?
Leaving it to the ordinance,
Okay, good, all right,
right?
good,
We did throw
We'll-
around,
we'll
talk
work-
about some numbers.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure out whether we want to have a hard number, whether we wanted to have some kind of percentage over occupancy of an indoor facility that may be holding an event on their property outside the building, but we just
so
punted that to the,
to that point, then, Bob, looking at Guilford's definition as a starting point.
Yeah, I think that's
And then
great. Yeah.
talking,
okay, yeah,
okay,
It's not dangerous or offensive.
Yeah.
There's no history of previous problems with the.
Yeah.
Whoever's doing it. Does it require police, fire,
right,
Okay.
noise?
yeah, that was the whole intent of the,
Yeah.
And the other thing on the application, which I thought was a good pass at this application. I thought almost in each category, there ought to be an other,
okay,
at the end, it lists all of these possible questions, but I think there ought to be just one on each category that says,
anything else you want to tell us?
any other
Yeah.
considerations.
okay,
Well, yeah, my only thought on the form was that I don't know if all of these questions should be approached yes, no. I mean, I understand wanting to keep it easy,
Mhm.
but it seems like in many cases, there'll need to be more details provided.
okay.
So I don't know.
Well, and we did, so if you check yes here, it is provide more details,
No,
which
right.
they can do on a separate sheet.
Right,
Yeah.
I'm envisioning like 3 separate sheets attached to this with all the different.
Well, there
and
may
I wasn't
be,
sure if it was
yeah.
just better to do a form where there's more short response space.
Oh, okay,
Per
all right,
section maybe.
I thought it was in funerals
are
were
exempted,
excluded.
yeah,
Hmm.
Well, that certainly would be necessary from the resort.
Well, we never
standpoint.
considered that as a
We never-
special
No,
event.
that's
That
right.
was commercial activity.
Well, yeah, you
Yeah.
kind of have to say that.
Right, you gotta
Right,
have it in
well,
the
that'll,
ordinance.
that'll be in the ordinance, right,
Yeah.
when we get through the
But that's
definition.
his point,
Right.
it's in Guilford's ordinance.
Right.
Doing it
All
this
right.
way.
No, I'm
So maybe
fine.
we kind of take theirs as the overall
Yeah, and I was gonna, that was my,
guide and modify it for our use.
yeah, I thought it
I
was
think
very
it's
well
good to
done,
have both of those.
right?
Okay.
Yeah, as far as the ordinance is concerned, I thought it was really good.
We might as well steal.
Yeah. Of course, well, we did, we did,
Somebody else has already said.
we
Yeah.
did, right, yeah,
Irene
Just
has a
don't-
wheel.
yeah. Just don't repeat the phrase amount of people. Number of people, please.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I can't help
this
it.
was a good start.
It's number when you count things and it's amount when you can't count things. That's all you gotta remember.
all right, more response
that note,
based rather
It's like
than. centered.
less and fewer.
Exactly, it's the same principle. See, we went to school, they had grammar,
There you go.
yeah,
We could write cursive too.
and we can write cursive too, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
What do we know? We're just old guys.
Amount places numbered.
All right. I'm sorry?
What was that second one that you did? Number and
Oh, number, amount, less or fewer,
lesser few.
right? It's count, not count. Can you count it? Can you not
Got
count it?
Got it.
Okay, so public safety, anything else? So we'll go back over this, we'll review it. In our next meeting, we'll
Yes.
have a
Yes,
discussion with Dave.
Got it.
On it. Anything on the on administration?
no, we just have been really inundated this week. It's like everybody saved up all their stuff, right, Sharon?
Yes.
I mean, we had 11 permit applications since Monday. We've done
All over
a
the,
lot of,
all
yeah,
over the waterfront,
a lot
You
of.
should have stayed away.
Huh?
permits just all over the waterfront? I mean, all different types of
Yeah,
permits,
just, yeah, everything you can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, but.
That a
motor
calendar year
vehicle-
thing?
Motor vehicles are also very busy right now,
yeah,
so. Yeah. So, yeah, overall, it's pretty busy even admin wise. Finishing up on the, tax collections. I'll get you the percentages at the next meeting.
that's right, they were all due
They were all due on
Last
December
first.
So.
Good.
Can't think of anything else that we need to talk about.
All right, shall we move on to new business? Excuse me, new business.
Yep.
The Winter Lights Program for 2023.
Yep, so you had asked, you want to go over what you,
Yeah, I guess there was some miscommunication and some incorrect information that was put out there about the resort taking over the Winter Lights program. That's not quite correct.
No.
I think that was out there, but also
Out there.
I believe in the wigwag it had that the resort was taking over the Winter Lights program. I could be misremembering.
I'm not sure. I can't remember. I
I-
remember reading it. Swore that-
They caught my eye because we've been up to this point, we've been dealing with Sean.
Mhm.
It's been his program, but I guess there's been some movement in that regard,
Well, the Resort Association has been helping to pay, especially.
Right, and
on
we
the
have,
town portion
right?
Yeah.
over the
There's been a
bridge.
combination,
Yeah,
there's some,
exactly.
like over the bridge and whatnot. Right? So I guess the question was, we were surprised, or the town was surprised with the use of the stakes rather than the barrels along the road,
yes,
and that
along Valley. Road
excuse me, along
and
that
Village. Yeah,
Valley and Village Road, and there was some concern that it wasn't a very attractive arrangement.
well, number one, it was different than what.
What
you
we had approved, right,
With the barrels.
right. And that was the main thing. So I think we just want to go back and reiterate, see what you guys think, is that I think whoever's going to be running the program in the future needs to come in front of the board to let us know what the
Months in
plan is.
advance.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I think a lot of the confusion also comes from like the Resort Association, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brooke. The Resort Association has been contributing funds, but then
Right.
those funds have been directed by other entities, like the landowners, who in this particular instance, I believe it was like Stacy and Ian
Mhm.
overseeing that particular section of lights.
Right.
Even though the Resort Association was help paying for it, it was sort of.
Right, you had no
the-
input into where the
Right, but how it was, how it was implemented.
implemented, right?
So I don't know how
Yeah.
to. Perhaps we need to take a more active role in reminding.
Well, I don't know who's in charge now. I mean, who's in charge of the program?
Yeah.
too, is that
Yeah.
It was initially Sean's project.
Right.
And over time, through the help, with the help of the resort association and the town and the resort, it's sort of like,
Yeah,
it's like we're trying to keep it on track. When it wasn't, meeting deadlines in order for it to happen. So that's when the resort association got involved. So I think the permitting process probably got left behind in that whole thing. I mean, does the resort have to come?
Well, no, the
Not
the
a permit.
agreement was as long as nothing changed from
Yeah.
what was approved last year, that there was no need to come back into the board.
Mm,
But things did change because they decided not to use the barrels
Right,
and they decided to set it up differently.
right.
That should have come in, and like Bob said, not the day before they start setting it up, but a couple of months.
yeah.
So who
Before.
would have done that, the resort? Cause that's what I'm trying to
Because
figure out.
that's-
Well, that's-
Exactly,
Because Sean
exactly.
initially came in for all of this, but then he didn't come in this year, right?
Because he thought the barrels were gonna be used. So he didn't come
He
back
didn't
in.
know anything was
He didn't know
different.
anything was being set up
Yeah.
So
different.
it would have been the resort that.
If the resort
Yeah,
decided as the landowner that they didn't want the barrels there,
Yeah.
that should have been communicated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So I
to
think
the
also
board.
there's multiple, multiple properties, right, being
Yes.
used.
yeah, including town property.
So it's-
Including
it's a huge
town.
collaboration, because I think the mission for the project is to have it continue to expand, so it's a bigger.
Well, right,
Cooler thing
Exactly.
every year, and so now that it's getting a little more complicated, we, I guess, need to figure out how. we'll-
Maybe there ought to be a committee,
Right.
a light committee.
Well, it's kind of, I mean, I guess there's not a light committee, but there should be, you're right.
With the lights
That
up
would be
there,
very
under the
helpful.
resort
But I think
We
association.
need to do.
No, I
yeah.
think the resort, I mean,
Under the
I like it
resort association.
under the resort
Yeah.
association
Yeah.
because businesses are involved
Right.
and.
Yeah.
I think that coordination, but just don't wait until December to
No,
start coordinating.
absolutely, yeah.
Right,
Is that
And
possible? The resort association could take the lead and.
We can certainly try. I don't see why not.
I bet
Just-
we could, but I think Stacy from the resort has been a huge piece of
Yes,
boots on the ground part of this, and the resort association has been more of the funding, like the helping to make it, connect the dots, so
but we
Well-
know that with Stacy leaving, we were gonna have a void and we've
Right,
been talking about
right.
how to preemptively.
And
have
maybe
that
if we could
knowledge.
be communicating to the
Yeah.
resort
resort.
association.
Through the resort
Yeah,
association that, hey,
right.
we need to
Have the
start
resort
talking
members.
about this at the
Okay.
beginning of October. And deciding.
Well, I mean,
what
actually,
we'll
we
do.
should talk about,
June,
we actually
or
talked
even
about
June,
it
who
earlier, we
cares?
just didn't,
Yeah.
I personally didn't know. Like, I think I'm speaking for the board, that we had to, that anyone was gonna be doing it any differently.
I don't think
You know,
it
so I
was
think
known, yes.
That part
So-
of this,
Yeah,
I just, yeah, I mean.
so we'll
I
bring it
think
up at the next Resort Association board meeting to
Okay.
figure out a committee that resorts are part of
right,
and
and then they can just bring whatever they need to bring to the board and
in June.
Does the
whenever.
summer flowers fall into this, or is that a separate?
I was-
It's Still
No, it's separate.
dreamscapes.
Right.
But no, but that also the principle is yes, as long as it's similar to what you've done the previous year. I think.
If you wanna do a wholesale new thing. and
something's
you wanna
new,
do
come in
something
front of the
totally
board.
different, Come back in.
Right. But the issue there too was, I don't think we ever received a formal request, the board, for our contribution this past year. And that caused a little bit of a kerfuffle on that,
Right.
is that,
for the blooms.
yes,
That's totally.
Some of
Yeah.
right, but
Yeah,
the principles behind
Yeah.
it for that, and that's something we need to work out
Mhm.
with Sean.
yeah. Well,
That-
that's been part of the challenge, is the collaboration and,
Yeah.
between all these different entities to be on the same timeline, because you have to be on a timeline because you're working through a vendor.
Yeah.
anyway, there's, it's a lot of complicating factors, so I think we can probably get that more streamlined.
Definitely.
Okay.
And this, while you're having that conversation, there was no problem with Public Works
Right,
No,
Um,
no, using. the
using the barrels.
Right.
So, and the location of the current stakes is okay
barrels. Mhm.
as well.
I think the
Right.
barrels were probably just labor intensive, right?
from what I understand, they were left long in the spring. And the landowner had to step up to remove them instead of the organizer and.
Yeah, so. Okay,
All right, shall we move on to old business?
Mhm.
Golden Eagle Path agreements.
Yeah, I think we've made good progress with the paved part of the path. Mark and I met with Doug and Tina. They like Bob's idea of having just like a set amount that the town would.
Pay Golden
Contribute
Eagle to
for-
maintain.
Exactly. Tina had mapped it out or clocked it out to being about an hour's worth of work to clear that section. And they pay about $75 an hour. So,
to their property management company.
Right, this
For
is the
the
town's
clearing.
portion of the paved
exactly,
path that goes down from for the record,
Yep.
goes down from the Golden Eagle
yes.
before it reaches the bottom.
Correct.
And that's,
Right.
well, not, yeah, just
Oh,
the
that's
bottom of the
paved, that's paved
where the
area, excuse me,
pavement
yes.
ends, yes, not the slope, so, anyway.
Right.
So we'd suggested 1,500 for the year, being optimistic about the weather or pessimistic, depending on your perspective.
So up to $1,500.
Yeah,
And then we would come back if
This
the
was-
number of storms increased or whatever,
Yeah.
but that would give us 20 storms.
Yeah.
To be able to do it,
Yeah, and this was just for this year, I think it
Yeah.
was.
just for
Yeah.
20.
See if we can get a more long-term
because the next-
comprehensive solution in
exactly,
place for later.
yeah,
And
the
that's
next step.
reasonable, Bob, from your perspective.
Sounds a little bit high, but yeah, I'm okay
Yeah,
with it.
I'm fine with it.
So the next step with this process will be going through the easements that had been in place and kind of finding more clarity in the wording to be able to record that. And because there's, between not just the path maintenance, but also the parking for the field and the playground access.
Right, so several
both
easements
are-
are at play.
Both are implied in the
Yeah.
easement there in relation to the town, and it's
I
just
see.
very vague. So, we're gonna start with the town council in coming up with some
Right.
more accurate wording. And then they would take it to their council, and then after we resolve that, we'll of course keep you guys in the loop with all that fun paperwork. Then we talk about possible solutions or getting an engineer out to really look at that slope and see what can realistically be done. So it's been really smooth communicating with the Golden Eagle folks for the paved part. There's, I think, and I'm not sure what the rest of the board thinks, I'm a bit concerned and had a lot of feedback about past the paved area where there's an easement for the cross-country use. The town, it's never been cleared. And
And the bridge
unfortunately,
beyond that.
and the bridge.
Right,
And the Turkey Plunge unfortunately occurred as a rather major event, and it was incredibly treacherous walking across
Yes.
there. And it kind of came to mind
And I did.
that,
Mhm.
the lack of insurance coverage, if we're relying on the resort to maintain that area so they can do what they need to do for their Nordic skiing. If there are icy conditions and someone were to take a fall, what vulnerability would town have?
do they have an easement across the bridge from the Adventure Center, as well as an easement?
As
Or it's
much as we
unclear.
can tell.
Right, so it's not just an easement, village trail going across the road, not the road, but across along the pond,
Right,
and then across the pond, there's a.
right. There were easements that were transferred. And they're very
They're
general.
very general.
There's there's not, we're talking one or two sentences.
Yeah.
Of you have the right to go from here to here.
But it doesn't talk about
But it
maintenance.
doesn't talk about maintenance or
repair,
anything.
Or anything.
Yeah,
Right.
or
And-
safe passability,
Huh?
or safe passability.
Or safe,
for
yeah,
walkability, whatever. for-
maintenance, yeah.
Right.
So. We gotta figure out, I mean, because these are easements that go back to the 1980s.
So
And
the,
so we,
the town has a liability policy.
we have a liability insurance policy. But usually, when we have others using town land, we get a policy or a notice from them that they are gonna hold us harmless for their use of the town land. Doesn't mean that we don't have liability.
Right.
It just means that their insurance is aware.
They're first in
of-
line.
That's right. So those sorts of things we've never really dealt with because these questions haven't come up till now.
I mean, personally, I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, you got. How many feet does our land go through that section?
A couple 100 feet.
Couple hundred feet?
It's across the bridge.
It's across the bridge, it's across the.
It's the
it's
very
across
worst section.
It's
Yeah.
the worst section
Okay,
of maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah, because you get to the bottom of the paved, which, so far this
The
year it's been
paved
really
only
well
goes
done.
partway down the hill and then you've got a
See.
piece that's dirt.
yeah,
And that's also part of the cross-country ski easements.
all right,
And the bridge itself is part of the cross-country ski easements, I
Right.
guess.
And that, all that is town.
And all of that is town owned.
Right, but
Yeah.
with the previous weather to what we just had, we had the snow and then the rain and then. Or
Yeah,
the
but
snow and
there's-
the melt, and it was ice, it was ice, and
and maybe we ought to look at the town insurance policy. I mean, we have a policy that covers liability. If somebody sues the town,
Yes. And usually these are areas that we are maintaining.
Right.
But we are not maintaining the bridge. But, the plowing and this,
Yeah.
whatever, the winter maintenance of the bridge. So someone else is maintaining it,
who's doing that?
the
the
resort,
resort.
Resort, but they don't want to be a part of this.
it's been difficult.
It's
You know,
been
that
difficult.
they've,
for me.
they've,
Yeah.
been very willing during the season to do what they can to make that very walkable,
Yeah.
but we're in this kind of pre-season time, what we were in the pre-season time. And then again in the spring, when we're in the post-season time,
Right,
that's when it's the most treacherous.
right,
Post.
Before they need to groom it, basically, for,
correct.
Right,
for
or
the
after they're
skiers.
able to, so,
Right.
in this, before being able to groom time period, or, if it happens again, I mean, sorry, but if it rains this weekend or whatever.
Yeah.
They probably won't be grooming. But it will be very treacherous. But we can't, the town feels hesitant to go in and do anything to clear it. Because that would be disrupting their ski trails.
Right.
So,
And there's
Or-
nothing specified as to who does what,
right.
when, in any of these easements.
So it just seems as though having that extra acknowledgement of coverage.
Usually an
Would be
outside
appropriate.
group using our land has an insurance document for additional insured.
Mhm.
But that's not required by the easement, so we don't have that. So right now, it is only our liability policy covering that
Well,
area.
the resort would ask for a cross easement. A cross agreement
Policy.
that our insurance holds them harmless also. I'm sure.
They don't own any of the land. What would we be holding them harmless for?
Well, if they're maintaining it,
Yeah.
if somebody sues them. They're gonna be liable. Aren't they?
Yeah, they should be carrying liability insurance for their Nordic Center, sure.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think we're overcomplicating it myself, but, we have liability insurance, they have liability insurance.
What do you think, Rich?
Well, I'm looking at the practical side of it. I mean, who's maintaining this when the conditions are treacherous? We're not doing it.
Nobody is.
Nobody is doing it, so that opens up us to the town to suit if someone would have slipped and fall.
I've been spent like this for 25 years.
Right, but we have,
Mhm.
you know, the highest population ever and a lot of
35 years.
people cutting.
I mean, it's been raised on the board the last couple of years about the treacherousness of that area.
Yeah.
By residents, and that's what first started our conversation about this, and I think then Wendy took it on when she came on the board to try to see what she could work out for the board and with the
with
resort
the town
and the
core working group and.
and the Golden Eagle. And the resort has sort of maintained a bit of a hands-off approach at this time, and it's been the Golden Eagle and the town trying to deal with the concerns that have been expressed by residents about the treacherous nature of that area. That's why it's come up.
Yeah.
And so I think Wendy has been trying to find a solution. And we've got all these, your research has shown that there are these easements, but they're not very specific in some key issues.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, what we've agreed to do is pay the Golden Eagle to maintain at least that portion, you know,
The paved
Paved.
the paved portion.
Yeah.
But we still have the issue down at the end of the paved portion and going across the bridge.
And that's actually right now the most treacherous piece because it's all ice
Yeah,
and, you know, we're kind of in this in between because we don't
Right.
want to touch it
Yeah,
because it affects
right.
no, there was
cross
so,
country skis.
yeah, there was so much frustration last weekend that I think so, from what I witnessed, someone had taken, because of another part, I didn't mention the Golden Eagles leaving out salt buckets, salt and sand, you know, snow melt buckets. So any passersby who sees an icy spot that's been developed overnight can quickly take care of it. But someone had taken the bucket and just dumped it at the very end of the paved area, just trying to desperately get that ice to melt. Anyway,
So we'll continue to work on it.
Yeah,
And,
I mean, I think we have a interim solution, at least for part of it.
and we got the paved portion, I
Yeah.
think, taken care of with the Golden Eagle.
Right.
And then we'll
Yeah.
work on the rest of it.
You know, in the future, I know you had talked about a step
right,
system that has a grate,
grates or something.
but you'd have to have handicap. You'd have to take into account handicap access as well.
Well, but we've debated that because the Golden Eagle can't change the stairs in their pass-through because of the way their foundation is built underneath it. So even if the portion of the path that we'd have control over were handicap accessible, it's leading to a handicap inaccessible spot that can't be changed. So that's where we were looking to the Golden Eagle to help take the lead more.
And yeah, and I think you're absolutely right, Bob, if the town does it, we have to take into account ADA. If it's a private organization, you know, just somebody's footpath, then I don't know that they have to necessarily do things by the same standard. But that was one of the arguments of why the town didn't want to be the lead
Yeah.
on the project.
Anyway, that's the update.
Okay, so do you need a vote on the $1,500?
$1,500, yes,
Yes. So I'd make a motion that the town budget $1,500 for the removal of snow at the Golden Eagle path, leading to Town Square.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
and it's on whatever, I mean, it's on the town land we're talking about.
it is.
Town, line,
Yeah,
yes,
right.
yes,
Just to be clear for the,
I know, absolutely,
listening
thank you,
audience.
yes.
right. Okay. We've already touched the special event permit ordinance,
Mhm.
update on Casella landfill plan.
You've distributed a few news articles.
Yeah, it's
to the
heating up
board.
again, isn't it, since they've
It is.
reapplied?
So they've reapplied. And Megan has a meeting next week,
14.
14th.
At
with the
Penny?
Penny Baker Solid Waste District, we'll be able to provide you probably with more information after that meeting, I imagine.
Mhm.
And is there anything that you heard from Penny Baker with regards to the permit yet?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
No.
So it's just basically what is in the media that they have reapplied for their Dalton facility. They've changed it a little bit. And
Right.
changed the application a little bit from what they had pulled previously.
And there's an attempt to keep the state from acting on it.
Delay it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
delay it.
till after
Until-
some Supreme Court decision.
Yeah, there are a
Or
couple
a,
of cases.
yeah,
that are-
cases and new standards that are being written, supposedly being written by the state, which are like
Yeah.
10 years overdue, I think. Or
Yeah.
something like that.
So I don't know where the permit's gonna go. But given the timeline of a normal permitting process. If they get held up much longer, it is gonna impact that end of 2026
Right.
timeframe.
So hopefully after this meeting, we'll have answers on that, and then also whatever the plan is for when our agreement does end, if that is not operational at that point in time.
Right. Well, agreement ends in the spring of 26, right?
End of the
End
year
of the- yeah.
26.
End of the year 26, right?
Yeah, along those lines, the municipal solid waste working group is gonna meet on the 12th. So a bit before you have those answers, but it's an initial meeting, organizational, so.
Excellent. Okay, anything else on the landfill? Community power plan update.
Yeah, so they're also continuing to move forward. They just had a meeting last Thursday. The biggest thing that I wanted to point out that came out during that meeting was that when they go, and you can go, Megan, if you need
Okay,
to.
I have a contractor. at the shop.
Yeah. Good, thank you. So when they put together all of the pricing and the different levels and all of that, and they get ready to go out to bid, it's actually the Board of Selectmen that put that out to bid. So they're gonna do all of the background work for
Right.
you, but there
We're
will
the
be a
official
vote
face.
of the board.
Right.
And then when the bids come back, the actual selection, you'll get a recommendation from the Community Power Committee, but it is an actual board vote. So I just wanted to, I don't think we've talked about that being part of the process before, but that is how the actual steps go. So, right now, I would not anticipate that they would have anything until February, March. It's just the next round of when pricing comes out and how it's working.
Right.
I think you got some time. But if something happens with the market and it looks like we can get good pricing, there may be a like, we need you to make this decision at the next.
Sure, I mean,
board
we're all set up for it, right?
Right,
We've
where
approved everything
everything's
ahead of
ready.
time,
Yep.
so, yeah.
So they're making good progress.
Okay. Anything else on that? Bob? Anything? Nothing? And I think we did the on-street parking at the Golf Clubhouse already.
Yep.
So let's move on to board concerns and directives. Anybody have any concern or directive they'd like to direct? None today? Okay, none. None today. Correspondence?
Training.
Oh,
you
okay,
got-
yes.
So there is upcoming training, and if any of you are interested in attending, you're welcome to.
I see
Um,
they're doing one in Campton.
Yeah, they are doing one in Campton. Right now, I believe. Who's gonna attend?
I'm gonna go, I believe Patty's going, Reggie, Terry. I don't know about any of the supervisors. yet.
Supervisors, yeah.
I haven't heard from them.
And you guys going to the one in Campton on the twelfth?
Going camping next Tuesday, yeah, it's
Okay.
close, it's right there and.
Yeah.
It's a good start.
Just
to
down the road,
kinda grease the
literally.
wheels for the election season.
Okay, so anyway, there is, it's on its day of registration, so you do not need
Yeah,
to.
it's not
right.
pre-registration and.
Very good, all right. Anything else?
Nope.
Correspondence? Think if we have nothing else for the public session, like to entertain a motion to go into non-public,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Right. Thank you, Sharon, just let us know.
Want to keep this?